All right, everyone. Yesterday, Oprah was trending, which was kind of the point. She and I guess her manager or agent or whatever came out and said, "Oh yeah, I might be considering running for the presidency. I'm seriously giving it thought." How many times have we heard that before? Look, Oprah is part of the same nexus as Trump. Ironically, she's sort of the same kind of business and branding figure when you really think about it. Like she's multi times over truly rich. Extremely rich, extremely notable, and if she did run against Trump, on those tokens it would be kind of even, because she could self-fund, she wouldn't need to fundraise really. She's got the social media power that Trump has, and she's sort of, again, within that same nexus. That would be fine, but it's not going to happen. And there are several reasons why. The first reason is that there's a good 90% chance that this is just a scheme for her to build her brand. Now, Trump had done this before, too. You'll remember, he gets all sorts of free publicity anytime he spoke about politics back in the 80s and 90s. He used it as a way to get on TV, get into interviews, and then later on, get people a buzz in social media. Then he, of course, finally decides, yeah, I am going to run. But as far as Oprah goes, I don't think that she would find that job palatable. She's got a massive business industry. She doesn't have the same kind of personality as Trump. She's not seen the same way. She doesn't quite act the same way. I don't think she would be quite as into it for power's sake. She's more, I don't know that she's the kind of person who really cares about getting that triple crown that I spoke of during the last election. For Trump, it's, hey, I've already got all the money in the world. I've already got all the fame in the world. Now I want all the power, and the only thing that would suffice is the presidency. Oprah as well also already has all the money in the world. Like, she could never even spend all of her money, even if she decided to plate everything she bought in gold. Like, all my food's going to be coated in gold. All my furniture, I'm just going to wrap gold leaf around it all. Like, everything's going to be glowing. It's going to look like an astronaut set or something. She could do that. She'd never run out of money. She's already famous. Everyone knows who Oprah is. She's one of the most recognizable women who's ever existed in the history of mankind. So she's already got those two things. I just don't see her as the kind of personality that would be so intrinsically, like, she would give a fuck about power so much. I think she likes the comfy lifestyle thing more. Trump did as well, but I think always had that itching, and I think, eventually Obama kind of tipped him over the edge. I happen to disagree that he didn't intend to win. I think that that's bullshit promulgated by people who just don't like him. So that's reason number one, in my estimation at least. Number two, let's say she did run. I don't think she'd win the nomination. I think she would be I think she would end up withdrawing. Like, nobody would ever want to say, well, we're beating Oprah. Yeah, huzzah. No, as long as she was in, she'd be a force to be reckoned with. But I think after a while, she would drop out and say, well, I'm going to let someone else do this. She'd pay a bunch of pollsters to show her suddenly dropping off. And she'd say, okay, I know a good thing when it ends. So I'm just going to, I've had fun here. It's been great discussing it with you, America, but, bye. I'm going to go back to doing the Oprah show. And I think that's what would end up happening. I also happen to think that the idea of the Democratic Party as morally concerned with, minorities, women's rights, all that stuff, that's just a gig, dude. That's just a scheme in order to get votes. Like we see, I'll be reporting on it later, breaking today, leaked memo from the Center for American Progress. It seems to refer, this is a heavily Democratic organization, a liberal organization, maybe not like a Bernie bro progressive group, but a liberal one. And they're talking about DACA, we must defend DACA, but they don't talk about it from the stance of human rights, they talk about it from the stance of a voting bloc. Like, literally, yeah, we want to give these people blanket amnesty so we can win elections forever. It's sort of what the far right has actually been getting at, and they were always right, but there was never solid proof, because the Democrats like to pretend it's a moral issue. Oh, think of the children in the most literal sense. These dreamers, they want to be American and stuff, which, in many cases is true, but it's the Democrats don't care about the moral side. By the way, you can't blame them. They're a corporation. They're meant to make money. They're meant to get votes in order to pay back the people that pay them to run elections. It's just how political parties tend to work, which is bullshit. That's the way it works, though. It happens. So the idea that the Democrats are going to say, well, we want a black female to run for us, and I think you'll find there's plenty of resistance. There's a huge amount of resistance in the Democratic Party among the neoliberals right now towards even fielding someone who's not white and male because of how shitty Hillary Clinton was. They completely, what the Democrats wanted is they wanted the victory. of having the first female presidency, because it would make their constituents feel good, because it would boost them up in like approval among female voters maybe, or that was their theory, of course, Hillary Clinton being only marginally female at this point. The idea was, though, they wanted to snatch that away. I personally still believe that the first female president will be a Republican or a conservative of some brand. Because of the sex issue being as it is, I think you're more likely, oddly enough, you're more likely to see like a Palin or a Bachmann end up being the first female president. It's not going to be someone who's far left. Now, I don't think that they could get enough of the male vote to actually win in such a case. And you watch, the gender wars are going to take on, in the coming paradigm, a greater importance anyway. Because the racial issue will begin to break down over time as the Republicans can no longer, in as many states, exploit just, what maybe white populism. And as the Democrats lose control, I think, of the Hispanic vote over time, trust me, I believe that that's coming mainly based on the religion issue, the issue of foreign policy, especially as it relates to Islam. I think that gender is going to become the new sort of flavor of the day when it comes to wedge issues. That doesn't do well for female candidates either. You've got to understand that. It's just, I just don't see it happening for Oprah. And let's say she did get the nomination. Well, she can self-fund, she can do all sorts of things. She strikes me as the sort of person who would crack under pressure, and Trump would apply an enormous amount of pressure. And it would begin to look, I think, a little bit conspicuous that two people whose careers have been so closely linked in both form and function. I think it would begin to look odd to people that the challenger was basically a Trump associate for, several decades. Because the New York heavy Trump / Oprah / whatever industries are all sort of melded together and rub elbows with the politics of these big city areas as well, and with DC indeed and Hollywood. They're all sort of bound together. Oprah, in that sense, is not an outsider to the same party. She's part of the same general overarching group. She's a step removed from Trump when it comes to sort of that celebrity status. It would begin to look a little bit like if it had been the Jeb Bush versus Hillary Clinton, the situation in the last election. People would begin to notice, hey, this looks awfully dynastic and nepotistic to me. Well, people would, I think, make that same connection for Oprah. And I'm sorry. I think throwing two wedge issues in at once, they shouldn't be wedge issues, but they are, let's be honest, of both gender and race, I don't think would do the Democrats any justice. They would lose. Trump would easily coast to victory if he were running against Oprah. The same is true of Kamala Harris or Michelle Obama. Those three names seem to be the people that lay Democrats most expect to be the candidate. I can tell you right now, Michelle Obama will not run for the presidency. Kamala Harris may run, but will not be the nominee. Oprah may run, although I really, really doubt it. She would not be nominated. I can almost guarantee you that, okay? So you can look forward to maybe a candidate Biden. Elizabeth Warren could be, but I don't think that they're dumb enough to nominate her. Gillibrand, probably. Her maneuvering has been spectacular. Now, I wouldn't vote for her, but her maneuvering into a position where she can run has been seamless. She's setting herself up as the missing link who can draw together maybe the progressives, the leftist side of the Democrats, extend an olive branch to them and do so credibly. It'll be a lie, but it'll look credible. It'll fool plenty of people, while also getting the business Democrats, at least some of them, back aboard the party. That's probably going to be their strategy come 2020, depending on the midterms. It depends on who wins the midterms by what margin and sort of the ground of Congress. We have to look at the landscape of how it's comprised after the midterm elections. If the Republicans do fine and hold everything, and they're like, we still have the House and Senate, which I think is likely at this point still. If that, and then especially after tax time, just watch the polls after April. Just trust me on this one. It's going to be pretty funny. Watch the economy, especially around that time too. What's going to happen is that the Republicans and Democrats may change their message depending on what happened in the midterms. They'd be wise to. I mean, they'd be dumb not to if they're on the losing side. If they're on the winning side, maybe a little less change. The Republicans, oddly enough, can't really maneuver right now. You have to have that togetherness between sort of the Trumpite side and the neocon side of the party. Otherwise, you can't do anything. That's about all. Peace out.